So today we're going to be answering some subscribers' questions that I've got on my phone here from the comments. And I'm going to be banging out the questions and the answers as quick as I can. I'm going to be doing a few in a row here. So strap on your safety boots with your seatbelt or whatever. Welcome to the channel. So here's a question that I got today. And this is from Katie. Thank you so much for your question. Really appreciate people taking the time to write their questions out. Do you think if someone takes their bone marrow out to use it for stem cells, they can regenerate it? Or maybe they'll become deficient in some way since it makes more cells and you need to produce more in the future. Now, Katie has put this question on a video that I did recently about what if I only have one kidney? How does that affect my jing, my essence, or my yang even? You could think of it like that. So if you haven't watched that video already, if you're watching this and you're not Katie, then go and watch that video because it kind of will explain some of the answer to this question. But this is a really great question. And what it does highlight is the idea in Chinese medicine that our body, everything we do in our body takes up energy, and that can reduce our life force. So there's an idea in Chinese medicine that a human being should live 100 healthy years. And in order to do that, we need to conserve the reduction of essence or the reduction of yang, either one of those, you can think of it like that, as time goes on. So there's this idea that when you're born with a finite amount of energy, just as you're born with the ability to rejuvenate some of your energy. Now, one system in Chinese medicine calls that essence or jing, and they attribute that to your kidneys. It doesn't mean anything about your kidneys. Go and watch the video that we've done on that. I also did an interview with a practitioner, Amy Forth, where we were talking about getting fertility and jing and things like that. For people that were interested in going on a journey of trying to get pregnant, what does that mean in Chinese medicine? Anyway, so this idea that everything you do, especially things that consume or that produce heat in your body. So when you have a bowel movement, a little bit of heat is lost from your body. When you urinate, you're not urinating water, right? So misconception commonly is, if I drink, lots of water, then I'm just flushing my system. Isn't that good? Like if I'm drinking and I'm urinating. Well, you don't urinate out water, you urinate urine. And so your body has to make that. And same as with sweat. You don't sweat out water, you sweat out sweat. And sweat is a substance. Now, you're not sweating blood. It is possible, but if you were to lose blood, that's a much more vital substance than if you were to sweat, than if you were to, urinate more or vomit. And so anything that loses fluids. And bone marrow is like a concentrated idea of blood. So it's the part of the bone. So bones in Chinese medicine relate to the kidney, relate to essence, they relate to yang in terms of your body's, the life force of the blood is produced by the marrow. And so, look, it's not a good thing to lose these things, right? It's not going to be a benefit to you. It's not going to make you live longer. And I think I gave a little bit of an example like this on the comments, right? So if you're a blood donor, you go and you give blood, and then your body has to rejuvenate those cells to make up the blood. And that's why they have rules about how often you can donate blood, right? You can't give blood every day. Otherwise, you won't be able to rejuvenate the blood in a healthy way. So you can give blood like roughly about 4 times a year and still maintain health. And these are in healthy people who are already healthy. So yes, on one sense, it could reduce your life force. It could reduce your health in one way, right? So it'd be remiss of me to say, oh no, it's not. Like it's to do that. But I think everything is interconnected, and this is the other thing I wanted to say, and I just probably couldn't say this in the comments because it's just taking too long to write them. But I think in Chinese medicine, something you want to consider, and this is for all medicine, just in health. Like health isn't just you as a physical one individual. It's your health within a community. It's your health within your family. So our ability to survive and thrive and do well in life isn't just as one individual being the healthiest we can. So if I was to live the healthiest I possibly could live, let's say, and that meant that I had to have no social life. It meant that I couldn't, I had to live as a monk. I had to do, 10 hours of meditation a day and not do anything else. And just, would there be fulfillment in life for me? Would that be beneficial to me and also to my community and to the world around me and that kind of stuff? So I think something like donating bone marrow, if it's going to keep a loved one alive, it's going to benefit the community in terms of like, or directly benefit someone you like a lot of people give blood or give bone marrow because they are just an altruistic person, and that's lovely. I've been a blood donor for many, many years, and that's just like, it's just something that you do because you can do it and because you want to help society. But you have to balance that out between when is that beneficial, when is that no longer a thing where you can afford to do. So sometimes you might be able to be a donor of blood, let's say for a few years, and then you couldn't do it because it's not, you're not able to sustain your own health or something like that. There's no shame in kind of stopping doing something like for that reason. But a lot of people go on a registry, like let's say you want to donate an organ to somebody, like you want to donate a kidney or something like that. That's a huge detriment to your body. Your body's not going to be able to rejuvenate that second kidney that you've lost. Your body will just have to compensate and live around that. But the detriment to you, if you were to lose that loved one who's also that's the reason why you're donating a kidney, so that like a family member or a close friend or something like that doesn't pass away, then that's probably also a massive benefit to your health as well, not just you personally, but the flow-on effects to your community. So I guess you kind of want to weigh up those options, right? So what I'm getting at is health isn't just necessarily you as an individual. Like, for instance, if my sister needed bone marrow, if I gave my bone marrow to her, I had a bone marrow collected, it would cause me some detriment, right? It causes you physical pain, it causes you like inconvenience in your life and time taken up and all that sort of stuff. And then it does take, it's taking away some of your life force. Your body can rejuvenate and can get over that. But, you don't know necessarily. There's risks with all surgeries, like all these kinds of interventions. You don't know necessarily what's going to happen in the future for each person. But for me, if it was someone close to me like my sister, I wouldn't not do that because it would be more detrimental to me to get 10 years on and to see her health deteriorate so badly that, and then to feel guilty that you didn't help out when you could have helped out, let's say, that kind of thing, but also to lose someone that you're really close to. So I think those things are really important in the mix as well, and that if something that I get what I'm getting at is something that might cost you in your physical health might benefit you in your mental health, and we don't know exactly the tangible kind of benefits of that, and there's more and more research coming out about the benefits of mental health to people's outcomes, to their outcomes of surgery, or overcoming obstacles in life and being resilient and those kinds of things, and mental health aspects. There's not a lot really talked about like that. There's certainly no research that we've got from classical Chinese medicine, and there's not a huge amount talked about in classical Chinese medicine, but just what we can infer from one-line kind of statements, that talks about, there are mental health things that are talked about in the Neijing and in some of the older fundamental texts of Chinese medicine for sure, but maybe not in the way that we would think of it in the modern terms today. So maybe that's for another video. Anyway, I thought this was going to be a quick video.
3 hours later.
But that's to answer that question. So thanks, Katie, for that question. Another person says, this is on my cheese and dampness video. So I made a video with a cheese lineup about dampness. So this person says, is vegan cheese dampening like cheese or coconut oil or soy cheese? Live in La Vida Felts. What a great YouTube name. So the answer is sometimes these nut cheeses can be more dampening than the actual cheese. Sometimes they're not. So when you saw that cheese lineup video, you would have heard me talk about soft, squishy kind of cheeses like camembert, things like that are very creamy, and then hard cheeses. So I think most of those vegan cheeses are mostly the soft kind of versions, or they are like a dip, like I've had one that was a cashew cheese, which is almost like a dip. So cashews are incredibly dampening, right? Out of all the nuts, cashews and peanuts are kind of no-nos in terms of dampness. So if your cheese is made out of those things, sorry, but it is probably very dampening. And I think this is all, again, in moderation, right? So you can't just say, well, this is, like, a person who's a vegan might not actually eat much other stuff that's dampening at all, right? So maybe you don't have a lot of other things, but maybe if you're having a lot of coconut oil, that could be quite dampening if you're having that in lots of things, and then you're having the things. I think with cheese, it's generally meant to be like a condiment. It's meant to be a flavoursome adding thing, not like a, certainly not a meal, like a meal of cheese. And look, I'm sure we've all been there. If you're watching this video, you've probably been there, where you sit down, you just eat up a whole cheese platter without thinking about, like, not between one person, but like, let's say you're out and you're at a friend's house and you get out some cheese, and next thing you know, you guys have eaten through a couple of blocks of, like, not big blocks of cheese, but little blocks of cheese between a group of people, and that might fill you up, and that's kind of like a cheesy meal. Well, that's not really a great thing to kind of be doing regularly. That's probably very dampening. So I think it's probably just as dampening as the normal cheese. It's not like vegan cheese is going to be less dampening, especially because it's made out of oil. And probably the nuts you're using are cashew nuts, because they are the ones that taste the nicest of all the nuts. Okay, so herbs for dampness. What Chinese herbs can be used for dampness? There's a question here. This is quite a long question, so we'll see if we can answer this one. So this guy says, it's NEF Spring. He says, "Hi, I enjoy watching your videos. I have itch problem lasting for 2 years now. There's no sign on the surface of the skin, no rash, no redness, but it starts getting itchy at night when I go to bed. I saw many doctors and had many blood tests done. I couldn't find or fix the problem. I saw a dermatologist and said the same thing. He gave me a cream or a lotion to use, and it couldn't help at all. I was devastated because I couldn't sleep." That's a big issue. A lot of times patients have issues where, like, one thing happens and then your sleep happens, and it's a roll-on kind of effect, and that can then cause more detriment to your health, right? Because if you can't sleep, your body can't rejuvenate. "I took allergy medication and still no help. I decided to change to TCM, and I went to a local Chinese medicine store to try my luck." That's good. Good on you. "The lady took my pulses and checked my tongue, which has a thick white coating, and she said I have dampness, trapped wind, and weak qi. She gave me herbs to use for 1 week, drink twice a day, and so far after 1 week, I feel a lot better. I will continue to use it for 1 month to get rid of the itch, and then I'll ask her to give me some herbs to nourish my qi." So you've done the right thing, like, in terms of Chinese medicine. It's great that it's worked straight away. That's good. And that to go and have follow-up after that is really good. Like, I was just making a video earlier about talking about purgative herbs, and then, that it's really important to have the follow-up after that, because if you've had something that's kind of, done one thing, then sometimes you need to put the substance back in. So that's great, do that. And he asks, "In which case, what food would you recommend to improve my qi? Thank you." So, obviously follow your Chinese medicine practitioner's advice. Now, some practitioners aren't able to give out a lot of diet advice because they're probably busy or they just don't know it. Sometimes some practitioners don't train in it that much. But generally for skin stuff, it's a good idea to avoid certain foods because they can aggravate the skin, can aggravate itchiness. Not all the time, but foods like tropical fruits, you definitely want to avoid these things for a while you're recovering. And some shellfish, like most shellfish, I think, would probably be best to avoid that. Because they can aggravate skin stuff. So it's more things like psoriasis and urticaria and these kinds of things where you've got an actual rash on the skin, but we don't know what it is really, because you've said you got all these tests and they couldn't find a problem. So what kinds of foods could you use to improve your qi? So the first thing you want is to eat mostly cooked foods most of the time. And so if you haven't seen that already, I've got a video on YouTube called "Why Eat Mostly Cooked Foods?" And that's really the supportive diet for your spleen and stomach, for your earth element. So you want stuff that nourishes it. So make a nice big soup with lots of seasonal vegetables. You can use root vegetables like turnip, pumpkin, carrot, parsnip, these kind of things. Butternut pumpkin is one of my favourites to put in those soups, to kind of help nourish your spleen. Like, your earth is your spleen element, and those foods usually come from the earth, right? So things that are yellowy or like browny coloured, those root vegetables, Sweet potato is a lot better than potato, but those kinds of things are good to kind of nourish, right? And so you don't want too much oil, you don't want too many excessive flavors, you certainly don't want lots and lots of sugar and sweet. Like the natural sweetness that you get from the grains, from the earth nourishing vegetables, that's enough kind of sweetness. You don't want to bombard your body with sugar kind of sweet. And so a very nourishing diet is one that doesn't put too much strain or detriment on our body. So that's what we call the clear, bland diet. Bone broth is a really good recovery kind of food. So if you're not sure how to make that, I've also got a video on this channel. I sort of apologise in advance. It's a bit of a long-winded one. But that's where I show you how to cook the bones up, and I'm kind of doing that one for the first time myself. And you just basically put the bones in the oven for 10 minutes, and then you put them in a crock pot, and you put a couple of veggies in there with it. You can modify the recipe as you go, and you just boil that up with some water, and you make a nice big thick kind of bone broth stock. Then you can cook that with that broth. You can put that bone broth into your soup to give it more flavour, into your veggie soup. You can put that into other things to sort of, we can just drink it by itself. And that's it's got lots of collagen, so it's really good for repair. It's good for repairing your skin. So I know that you said you don't have something wrong with your skin, but to help your skin's, this quality of your skin, so if it's been dry, or especially if you've been scratching a lot, then it's probably a bit dry. But it's more like it helps your gut repair, right? So bone broth is one of the better foods, and I'm not sure what place you're in. If you're in the other side of the world to me, you're probably coming into winter, and this is the time to kind of eat those nourishing foods. Maybe jump on the channel. A few videos ago I did one about autumn foods, and probably watch that, like what should you eat in autumn, transitioning your body from this kind of warmer, hot season towards the winter where you want to have more of these nourishing foods. If you're going into spring and summer, like we're in Australia, then you can have a bit more lighter foods. So bone broth is still good, but you're probably not going to feel like, Marie, I want to cook up a lot of stews and bone broths right now. You probably just don't feel like that, and that's natural, that's normal. You could cook up a bit and just have some in the freezer and use it sporadically in your other cooking to kind of add flavour and to, you know, have that nourishment for your skin and for your gut health, basically. So that's my main recommendation. I mean, the thing with Chinese diet therapy is it's very simple. It doesn't really change a lot. Like, it doesn't change hugely from condition to condition, because your body makes its nutrients from your digestive system, which is the same digestive system that you have whether you've got an itchy skin problem, whether you've got, you know, loose stools, whether you've got constipation, whether you've got, you know, these kinds of things. So we're always going to say eat a mostly cooked foods diet. We're always going to say eat, you know, a balance of like foods from in different seasons, like you know, change your diet in the seasons, as I've talked about before, but also to have, you know, a moderation of meat and vegetables, not just to be vegetarian or you know, carnivorous only. There's some of those diets going around at the moment, like just only eating meat, right? So you need a variety of foods, and you need to eat regular meals, and to do things like don't eat and do other things, like don't expend your mental energy so much that, you know, you're stressing out while you're trying to eat your food, that kind of stuff. So that's answering a few of the recent questions. I will get to the others as time goes on. So thank you so much for asking the questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. And I look forward to seeing you again on the next video. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you click that subscribe button and the notification bell, and that way you'll never miss a video when I make one. And if you're not already on Facebook, on our Chinese Medicine Podcast page, we've got an Instagram, we've got a Facebook page. I often make little clips of these things. If you're a practitioner or you're a student of Chinese medicine, that those things are very interesting for people. They might want to share those to promote the good things that Chinese medicine is doing. And so you'll feel free to share the clips that you see on those places, and to ask your questions. And I'll see you again on the next video soon. Have a great week.